For this faculty development session, we will be looking at the first step of starting a quality improvement project, defining the problem. This will hopefully be part one of a series on practical tips on how to do QI. Here are the clinical competency topics we will be covering. So when we're starting a QI project, one of the first questions we ask ourselves is, what's the problem? Now you might be thinking, I'm a doctor. I don't know QI. And I will acknowledge there are a lot of different QI methodologies, and each has their own word salad of frameworks and diagrams, which can be very confusing. However, I want to simplify it for you. Honestly, each of these methodologies is just a different toolbox that has different tools to do QI. You can mix and match tools to best suit your project needs. So now going back to our QI project and defining our problem. You might still be thinking, Priyanka, you can call them tools, but that still doesn't make it easier to do QI. Well, the first tool that we are going to be using is actually from our doctor toolbox, the problem representation. In QI, we call it a problem statement instead of a problem representation, but it means the same thing. We are defining the who, the what, the when, and the where of our problem. For example, we have who, elderly veterans admitted to general medicine. What, have increased morbidity and mortality from falling. When, at night, and where, on 3 South. Just as in medicine, once we have established our problem representation, we go to our diagnostic toolkit and order labs and imaging to help understand the patient's problem better. In QI, once we have our problem statement, we have our own QI diagnostic toolkit to help us understand the problem. The first tool we will look at is the 5 whys. The 5 whys is as simple as it sounds. We start with our problem statement and then ask why, until we either have identified a few different root causes to the problem or have identified the main root cause. So for example, patient falls have increased in the last quarter. Why? Because the patient fell and broke his hip. And then we ask why, and eventually we see that the root cause of the fall was that the durable medical equipment was not within reach of the patient. Our second diagnostic tool for understanding our problem is the root cause analysis. This is also known as the fishbone diagram, and the Ishikawa diagram, and the cause and effect diagram, but they all mean the same thing. We start with our problem on the right, and then we look at different categories of factors that could contribute to the problem: people, places, equipment, technology, etc. Within each category, we then explore the different factors that could have contributed to the problem. For example, if we look at environment, one of the reasons that contributed to the patient's fall could have been the slippery floors. This can help us identify the root causes of our problem. So to summarize, when we start a QI project, one of the first questions we want to ask ourselves is what exactly is the problem? We can define the problem using problem representation or a problem statement. We can then investigate the problem more by using the 5 whys technique or the root cause analysis diagram. Lastly, I want to make a plug for the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, which has QI modules that explain the basic principles for anyone who is interested in learning more. Thank you.